Good morning and welcome to the Petitti Pro Garden Show. Thank you all so much for getting up early and being here to listen this morning. May 21st, here we are in the middle of the month, and we have a farmer's market today. So we're hoping that the rain holds off. It's looking a little cloudy, but I think that we're going to hope for the market to be outside this morning, starting at 9 o'clock and running until noon. If not, if the rain starts, we're all going to be inside in the showroom there where all the fertilizers and all of those things are. So you'll be able to come over and shop in the greenhouse for all your plants and shop up in the showroom for all of your fertilizers and organic insecticides, as well as all the vendors. So we have a lot of things going on at the greenhouse, of course, always at this time of the year. But we have all the plants. The beautiful tropicals are in. Some more of those citrus trees that we have. And also, all the beautiful hanging baskets. So if you're getting ready for a Memorial Day party next weekend and you want to get that work done this weekend, this is a great time to come on over and take advantage of all of those beautiful things in the greenhouse. We have the hanging baskets, like I said, which, those things are amazing, not just as a hanging basket, but if you need some instant gratification or if you're decorating for a graduation party, an anniversary party, any of these things, you can take a hanging basket, pull it out of that hanging basket and put it into your containers or even into the ground and get big bang color. It looks like you have planted things months and months ago. And actually, they were planted months and months ago. Things were planted in hanging baskets as early as the first week of January. So some of those wave petunia hanging baskets are enormous already, looking at right around 30 inches around. You take something that size out of a hanging basket and put it in the ground or put it in a large container, and you have some big bang color automatically. So if you are doing some decorating for some of those parties, some types of events, a hanging basket is a way to go to get your color right off the bat. But along with those hanging baskets, we also have material in 4-inch pots. So if you're creating your own container gardening, you can do it with those 4-inch and get some really great colors. Most of the vegetative plants, things that are taken from a cutting instead of started from a seed, are in a 4-inch pot, but they give you lots and lots of wonderful, wonderful color. And then, of course, we have all the flats and your marigolds and your petunias and your zinnias, all of those things in flats, as well as wave petunias. We are one of the only garden centers that does wave petunias in a flat, and they're in packs of 2, so you can buy a full flat of 24 plants for only $22.99, a wonderful price on those, or you can buy them by the pack if you only need a couple of them. We also have bedding geraniums in flats, and then the zonal geraniums in the 4-inch pots and in the hanging baskets again. And then, of course, our specialty, all of your edibles. And we have an amazing assortment of vegetable plants for you, from mild peppers to hot peppers and everything in between. We have about 40 different varieties of tomatoes, everything that you're going to want for your garden. If we don't have it as a plant, we're going to have it as a seed for you. And it's going to be a wonderful weekend to get those vegetable gardens ready. And some of our questions was about, prepping for our vegetable gardens. So we've had a lot of questions on people doing square foot gardening. And we have some controversy on square foot gardening, and so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. But we want all of you to feel free to get us your questions, and you can do so by stopping in at the store at 5828 Columbus Road. We're right there on the corner of Columbus and Broadway in Nimishillen Township, or you can always give us a call, and we'll try to get your questions answered for you if we can over the phone. And that phone number is 330-455-5997, or you can fax us at 330-455-5998, or you can take photos and send me an email. And my email address is Cindy cindypetitti@gmail.com. That's cindypetitti@gmail.com. And so we want to make sure that we get all of your questions answered. And to start off today, we had, like I said, a lot of questions. And I have to say, a lot of our questions are about vegetable gardening because most of the people in the community, not all, but a lot of the people in the community know that we are the vegetable gardening go-to. A lot of other garden centers in the area, they have amazing flowers also, and they even have some great vegetables, but that's not their specialty. Our niche is vegetables and edibles and how to grow them organically with no synthetic fertilizers, no chemical insecticides, fungicides, or herbicides. So we do have a lot of those questions about the vegetable gardens and berry bushes and fruit trees and things like that. So our first question was about someone that had started some of their own tomato plants, and their stem got some darkness to it, and it got brittle and started to fall over. And when it fell over, they realized that it was hollow. And they were wondering what had happened and can this spread? And definitely it can spread. So if you do notice one of your tomato plants, this has happened to, that you might have started in a plug tray or in a flat, you want to pull that plant out and go get rid of it. You don't want to put it in your compost pile because that spore of that fungus can spread. So you want to make sure that you put it in a Ziploc baggie and throw it in the trash. Or if you have access to burn it, you can do that as well. You also, any of the plants that were close by that plant, you want to make sure that you use an organic fungicide on those plants as well as a preventative. So a lot of times tomatoes, this will happen with tomatoes. We've seen it ourselves. And so you can, use a fungicide as a preventative on the ones that don't have it yet so it doesn't spread. If you can zip that spore before it starts to have effect on the plant, your likelihood of completely controlling it is very, very good. So you just want to make sure that you do that and then throw the other plant out. The other thing that are happening with some of your vegetable starts that you are starting yourself from seed, sometimes you will have some damping off. And this happens when the stem is very, very weak and possibly they're not getting enough light and also staying a little bit too damp. So once your seeds germinate, you want to get them into all natural light as quickly as possible. So if you have them in a dark spot, or even if you have a heat light or a plant light over top of your seedlings that you are trying to germinate, remember, your seeds do not need any light to germinate. All they need is heat. And as soon as they germinate, that is the second you see them, they have popped through the soil, you want to get them out of your germination area and into good light. Now, you still want to keep heat to them. So you don't want to, set them right outside unless it's a cold crop. So you want to make sure that they're in a spot where they're going to still have some warmth, but also have good natural light, not a heat light, because a lot of times they will start to stretch toward that light because they want it so badly, and then their stems get weak. At that time, you want to make sure that you are using some potash so that you can strengthen that stem. Potash is going to help you have a nice, strong stem on your plant. Remember the letters on your fertilizer bag or the numbers on your fertilizer bag. The first number, when you see that series of 3 numbers, the first one is nitrogen, will usually be indicated with an N. Your second number is your phosphorus, and that's going to be indicated with a P. And your third number is your potash, going to be indicated with a K. So your NPK is what you're looking for, and that potash is going to make a strong stem. Your center number, your phosphorus, is going to promote bloom and bud and root system so that you have a nice fruit, a nice harvest. And then your nitrogen, that first number that you see, is what's going to keep this plant strong, but also give it a nice, rich, dark green color. And so those are all things that you want to make sure that you stay aware of, and you make sure that your plant is getting what it needs. But remember, light, and heat. Light, heat. You need a lot of light, and that's really going to help. The sun will really help that plant get strong. So you want to make sure that you do that. The next question that we had, these folks had bought a property where a strip mine used to be. And they want to do a few different things, not just plant raised beds for their vegetable gardens, but they also wanted to plant some trees. And they were wondering what will grow in shale. And so actually I went to the property. We did a consultation at the site and looking at this the soil conditions that they are dealing with. And not a lot of things grow in rock. So their options aren't the greatest. So if you are dealing with this type of situation, you have a lot of shale, an area that's been reclaimed from a strip mine area, you need a lot of soil amendments. And it's not an easy thing and it's not a cheap thing. Soil is expensive. So if you have a lot of shale, that's not soil, that's mostly rock. You need some good soil. The nicest thing is if these folks were planning on doing raised, container vegetable gardening, so they're building their planter boxes. And this is where square foot gardening comes in as well. So we're going to touch on that while we answer this question about what you can grow in the shale, because these folks were growing their vegetable gardens in like a square foot garden. They were doing 4x4 beds. And they wanted to know how much soil they need. Now, they don't have bottoms on the bottom of their boxes. And so hopefully they're going to be able to grow into that shale at some point, but we're going to do some definite amending. If you have a soil like this, you want to make sure that your vegetable garden box has at least 10 inches of good soil so that you can get some good root system, some strong root system built up before it would go to the bottom of the box and have to start fighting through that shale. Also, this is a great time if you do any composting. If you have shale soil, get that compost going because you want to work that in there and get it worked in and tilled in over years and years, which it's going to take to build that soil up. So if you have these types of bad soil conditions, you want to make sure that you do have 10 inches of soil in your boxes, and probably starting out with not overplanting those boxes. And that's where we're going to get into it with the square foot garden discussion. So you want to make sure that your mixture is a mix of topsoil, compost, and peat, and sometimes you're going to want to mix in some vermiculite. Some people do vermiculite instead of the peat, and some folks will do both. I usually would recommend doing both, especially if it's very, very heavy clay soil. You want the vermiculite plus the peat. A good organic peat by the Better Grow Company is wonderful to work in there. A good organic compost like Bull Country or Sweet Peat. And then a nice, good organic topsoil. Like ours also has a little bit of compost already in it. So it's very, very rich and going to really help your vegetable gardens or your flower gardens. If you're going to do raised flower beds, it will help those as well. So you're going to want all of this going on with your raised gardens, and even more rich organic matter if you are dealing with a shale soil or a very, very heavy clay, gray, heavy clay soil. You're going to want to make sure that you're adding in those amendments. And then every season, add more compost. You probably won't need to add more topsoil, but more compost every year will definitely help that. So like we're answering these questions, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to give us a call at 330-455-5997. Set up an appointment if you need us to come out to your house or the property where you're doing some planting, and we can do a consultation for you and hopefully help answer your questions. Now we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit about square foot gardening. In square foot gardening, I know that Fairhope United Methodist Church is doing square foot gardens with some of the youth from their church and then donating their harvest to different community food banks, which is a fabulous, fabulous idea. I know that Kuntz Memorial, that wonderful church, does the same thing, and they donate theirs to the Louisville Community Cupboard. So these are great opportunities to do some wonderful things with your churches, with groups that you're involved with, to give back to the community. A lot of times, you folks that are doing this really don't have a lot of gardening experience, and we find that you go to the internet, and a lot of times I don't agree with everything that's on the internet. Square foot gardening is if you have, we're going to use that 4x4 box again, that you'll have 16 square feet inside this 4x4 box, which that's true. So they're saying that how you can plant something in every single square foot. And I have to say, I don't really agree with that. Tomatoes need a lot more space than that. Not that you couldn't plant in it, and when you're planting as seedlings, everything looks good and it looks so cute and so nice. But as those plants grow, it's really difficult to keep diseases down, to keep nutrition up when you have that much root system in such a small area. So what I usually recommend is, especially for tomatoes, that you use at least 2 square feet, and I would like to see 3 square feet for every single tomato plant. And then also limb them up some so that you don't have bottom leaves that is going to block good airflow down low so that you don't have issues with blight. But for some of the things like a head of cabbage, yes, will grow in 1 square foot without a problem. A basil plant, not a problem to grow 2 in 1 square foot space of your square foot gardening. But there are things that you're going to need to use some common sense on. Just because they tell you on the internet that this is a great little plan, and maximizing your space is what we're all trying to do, because we don't have gardens like we used to have years ago, or not all of us do. But so you want to definitely maximize that, but you need to think about, you do all of this work and then you get blight so bad that you lose your plants by August before you're getting any great harvest, and it's not worth it. And then it's very disappointing and very disheartening, and the next year you don't want to grow a garden at all. So you need to make sure that you're making wise decisions so that it's not overwhelming to you and that you do have a good harvest every single year. So make sure that you don't overplant. We help people every day. So if you are considering square foot gardening and you're just not sure what plants should take up what amount of space in your square foot gardens, stop by. We will definitely help you make those choices so that things will go a little bit more smoothly for you and you won't have some of those issues that you're dealing with. The next question that we have, what will make my plants have good root system, good bud formation, and then wonderful blooms or wonderful harvest? And there are some fertilizers, and we spoke a few minutes ago about what the NPK stands for and what they do. So in this case, you're going to want phosphorus. Organically, you're going to see lower numbers than you would if you were fertilizing chemically. There's some chemical fertilizers out there with really high phosphorus, like 62. There's a 10-52-10 that is very, very popular in that synthetic fertilizer world out there. And nothing wrong. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those fertilizers for your flowers if you're trying to really throw some bloom on to your hanging basket so that they're blooming great for you for next weekend or for that party. Just really be careful. Remember, those synthetic fertilizers are salt-based and they kill off the good microbes in your soil. So if you don't keep adding the fertilizer, there's nothing in the soil for the plant to feed off of. So you really need to make sure that faithfully you are fertilizing that plant every 10 days, or you will see it start to decline very, very quickly. So make sure that you're doing that. Now, in the organic world, we're going to recommend, of course, an organic fertilizer. And there are some wonderful ones that you can use to get that great bud, great bloom on your plant. And then the more bloom you have, the more harvest that you have. If your tomato plant, has 5 flower buds, turns into 5 beautiful flowers, you're going to have 5 tomatoes. But if you have been feeding appropriately and the soil conditions are good, let's hope that you have 35 to 50 flowers on your plant. So 35 to 50 tomatoes on your plant. And to do that, fishbone meal is one of the greatest ways to get some high amounts of phosphorus. And our new Costa Main line does have a really nice fishbone meal with a phosphorus of 13. And that is really quite high in the organic realm. And so remember that fishbone meal is definitely a way to go to get that high phosphorus. And the Costa Main line is a total organic line. So it's not like some of the other fertilizers that they have, regular fertilizer, and then they've jumped on the organic bandwagon because organic gardening is more popular now, and so they've created an organic fertilizer. Costa Main is all organic. All of their soils, all of their fertilizers, they are all organic. That's what they do, is an organic line of soils and fertilizers. So you can really, really trust that. And you can buy these in nice small bags, large bags as well, and get that on your plant so that you really will have a nice bloom. If you want to grow your flowers organically and you want them to have beautiful bloom, this is going to be your go-to as well. Now, if you need extra nitrogen, if your plants are a little light colored green or starting to yellow up, that's when you're going to want to use a kelp, and that's really going to help darken that up because the nitrogen levels are high. And also alfalfa meal will also really help you get some really high numbers on that nitrogen line, and you're going to be able to really get some nice dark green color to your plants. Now, the next question that we did have was about potting soil. And they wanted to know if they wanted to amend their soil, which they said they have some heavy clay soil, and if they wanted to amend their soil, could they just use potting soil? And by all means, it's not always going to be the most economical way to amend your soil, but you definitely can amend your soil with the potting mixes. And there's some wonderful organic potting mix. If you want to mix that into your gardens and till it right in, you can do that. The Pro Mix has an organic line that you can use. Also, Better Grow uses organic peat in their potting mixes. And also, again, Costa Main. They have a wonderful Stonington blend of a potting soil, and it is a premium growers mix, a little on the pricier end. That price point's a little bit higher, but it also has the good organic fertilizers already in it, and so it's going to really help promote a very, very healthy plant. But definitely you can use just a potting mix because, some folks will come in and they'll say, well, you're telling me I should use peat moss and I should use perlite and vermiculite and some compost, and some of these mixes has all of those things already in it. It's going to be so much easier for me to buy one bag and put it in my small, raised bed than it is to buy all of these different things, have some extra that I don't need, and, dealing with one bag in my car and lifting it and carrying it is so much easier. So definitely you can do that. You can use just a regular potting mix and till it into your soil and find that you have wonderful, wonderful results. Don't forget, we have a farmer's market today, starting at 9 o'clock this morning. And depending on what happens here with the weather, we'll be inside or out. But please come over. I know there's some other things going on in the community, but our vendors really appreciate your support. They've been with you all winter long when there's no other vendors out there, no other markets going on. They're with you through the winter, supplying you with baked goods and as much produce as they can pull out of their high tunnels, some wonderful dried herbs. So coming over and supporting those vendors is very, very appreciative of, they're all very appreciative of that. And so we appreciate you coming to support all of those vendors as well. And we would love you to come over and do some shopping today and take advantage of all of the sales we have going on, as well as all of the wonderful new products that we have. So please stop by. If the market, like I said, starts at 9 o'clock, runs until noon at 5828 Columbus Road. We are right on the corner of Columbus Road and Broadway in Nimishillen Township. If you have questions or you need directions, you can always give us a call at 330-455-5997, or shoot me an email if you have questions at cindypetitti@gmail.com. That's CINDYPETITTI@gmail.com. This is our last farmers market that we will be having having until November. And the first Saturday of November, we will be having our next farmers market. So over the summer, we hope that all of you enjoy local farmers markets. You'll see a lot of the vendors that attend our market in the wintertime out and about at other farmers markets. So we ask you to shop local. If we always say, if you can't grow your own, to know your food, you have to know your farmer, and very, very important. So we would love all of you to shop local and also shop at your local farmers market to support your local farmers. We will be back next week on Memorial Day weekend with some great Memorial Day sales going on. We have wonderful Memorial Day planters that is easy to take right to the cemetery or do some great Memorial Day decorating at your house. So we have all of those great planters going on. And of course, this is a time that everybody needs to be mulching. So we have that bulk mulch in. We also have the sweet peat in that a lot of people are using for mulch these days because it works so well around your perennials and your tender annuals. But we want to thank all of you for listening. Remember, a strong foundation makes for a strong person. Just like in a plant, a strong root system makes for a strong plant. You all have a blessed, wonderful week, and we'll talk to you next weekend, Memorial Day weekend, and you all have a blessed week. Thanks for listening.